Starting in 3.
Do we have to sync the mics?
No,
the mic.
There's only one mic.
Okay, start it.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Finish with that, I suppose you're gonna fly, huh? Hey, players only, baby.
Bang! Bang! Ain't no rules in the dog can't play basketball.
I do not like them, Sam, I am.
Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Paul Stops Here podcast, Slam I Am. I'm your host, Paul Witwer, and joining me again this week is Driveway Skyhook champion and Paul Stops animator Cameron Frazier.
Thank you very much for remembering.
Back for episode 2, surprisingly.
Haven't quit yet.
Haven't quit yet.
Thinking about it.
We're here.
We'll see how it goes.
We're here. And also making another appearance is a man who called Dirk Nowitzki David last week, Tyler Vornberg.
That's going to haunt me for a while now, isn't it?
We gotta have the David meme go on for a couple weeks.
Now, you read that intro really nice, and I gotta say, we have the layout right in the middle here. And so it says, just to spoil for everybody, banter for a couple minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and instantly steal your time because I got so excited about the question I had last week. I made something up this week that I'm going to call
The Lied Banter Mutiny Quiz Show.
Oh. Okay, so we're going to play a little game with Tyler called Real or Fake. And this is a game for $1.
For $1?
For $1. And I think I'd like to do this again, but for this week, it's nicknames for players. Okay. I'm going to give you a nickname. You have to tell me whether or not it's real or fake.
Okay.
Okay, if you can get 4 correct, you get $1.
Okay.
And if Paul can get the majority of the correct nicknames matched to the real player,
okay,
then he will get $1.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Cannonball Carter. Real nickname or fake nickname?
No, I think fake.
You're correct. It's a
All
fake
right.
nickname. Next one. The Great White Hope.
No, that's also fake.
That one's real.
Really? Oh my.
Paul, whose player is that nickname?
That is Larry Bird.
Correctamundo. Another nickname for Larry Bird, the Hick from French Lick. Also,
I didn't know that one.
Larry Legend.
Yeah, well,
All true,
obviously,
all true.
Larry Legend, but...
All right.
Wait, what? Repeat, what was that second one?
The Hick from French Lick.
Oh,
That's true. That one's true.
That
I
one's
thought
rough.
I thought that one would be unfair.
Yeah,
and I
that
also
one's
thought Tyler
rough.
would never believe the Great White Hope. Up next, it's here's the next nickname, real or fake. The Mailman.
The Mailman? I think that one's true.
That one is true.
Okay.
And whose name is that?
Ye old Karl Malone.
Also correct. Ding. That's another one for you, Paul. Because he always showed up on time. That's the truth. They had a different experience with mailmen than I do. Okay. This one was El Nombre Falso. Is this one true? Is that one real or it's a fake name?
Man, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to go with fake.
You're going to go with fake? You're correct
Okay.
because that's Spanish for the fake name. So you'd be right on the money there. So how many is that? Is that
2 for Tyler.
and 2 for you?
And 2 for me.
Okay.
All right.
The Round Mound of Rebound. Real or did I make that up?
This is getting tough.
I'm trying so hard to not give it away to Tyler by smiling, but...
Is that
ridiculous
one
they are.
true?
That one is true.
Okay.
And who is it?
Charles Barkley.
It is Charles Barkley. It's Chuck.
All right.
Because he was round and he was good at rebounding.
Rebounding.
Okay. Up next, the Mountain of Manhattan.
The Mountain of Manhattan?
The Mountain of Manhattan.
No, I'm going to go with false.
He's right on the money again. He's doing
Wow.
great here. That's a fake name.
Wow.
I thought that one was pretty realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for the next one?
All right.
Hack the Ripper.
Hack the Ripper?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to go with false.
It's unbelievable. He's right again. He's right again.
right.
Another one I made up. Okay, next one.
All right.
Human Victory Cigar.
Human Victory Cigar? No, that one's got to be false, right?
This one is the last one, and it is true. So this player is Stochjo Brankovic, a player. I spoiled it for Paul. Paul still doesn't have a question. Does have a question here. It comes. His name comes because he was only played at the end of blowouts when his coach would smoke a cigar. Paul, which coach of these blowouts was the one smoking a cigar? To give you a hint, his name is considerably more famous than Brankovic.
Smoking a cigar? Oh, no. I don't know who that is.
That is Red Auerbach.
Oh.
Legendary coach.
I should know that.
The only one really, it's not Phil Jackson smoking a ciggy.
Well, yeah, I knew it wasn't him.
Okay, so
I was thinking,
I think
George
that's
Carlin.
the end of it.
I don't know.
You both get your $. However,
Thank you.
because there was enough animosity there is a bonus round.
Oh, bonus
boy.
round.
And hold on, don't put it in your wallet yet, Tyler. Tyler actually
I
has his
can lose
wallet
it?
open. You can lose it here. For this last double or nothing question, I'm going to give you a name,
Okay.
not a nickname, but a name. You have to tell me whether or not the player is real. If you get it right, you get Paul's $1. If you get it wrong, Paul gets your $1. And Paul is allowed to counsel you on this.
Why would he?
So you got to see whether or not he's telling you the truth.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk about basketball.
Okay, now I'm going to give you the name of the player, real or fake.
All right.
Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball.
So,
That sounds ridiculous enough to be true.
yeah, I mean, he's a basketball player and his last name is Ball? I mean, that's clearly fake, Tyler. Lonzo. What is it short
Oh my
for?
God.
Alonzo?
There's never been any famous basketball players named Alonzo.
I'm just gonna go false.
You're going to go false.
Give me that $1!
It is true.
Lonzo Ball. Oh, you don't know about that big baller brand? We got a lot to discuss.
We got a lot to talk about. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on my Light Banter Mutiny Quiz Show Challenge. There you go. $2 to Paul and no dollars. Spend your time working on that Lonzo Ball knowledge, Tyler. But thank you guys for playing my Mutiny game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That was fantastic. I didn't know that was coming. So, right now, we're just on YouTube right now.
Mhm.
So, if we could, just hit that MF like button. Smash it.
You're
Truly.
telling them now.
So, if I get 500 likes on
Oh
this
my
video,
goodness.
yes, I'm smashing that like button.
It's more likely we'll all make the NBA tomorrow.
We will record a video of me crossing up Tyler and dunking all over him.
What's the height of it? Is this a Toys R Us hoop? Because this is not happening.
Is this episode?
7-foot hoop.
7 foot, there we go.
That's the best I can do.
Are we already jumping the shark on episode 2?
We're already jumping the shark on episode. He's jumping the U on episode 2, buddy. There it is.
So please like and share. Hit that subscribe button. You know what? Even hit the ringer button, the bell notification button
That's right.
in the corner.
And now for something completely different.
So Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki made it into the All-Star game. By just popular demand, a bunch of people complained on Twitter, and a lot of people actually voted for Dwayne Wade to make it into the All-Star game, the fan vote. I believe he was 3rd in the East, something ridiculous like that. So the NBA listened, and they put Dirk and Dwayne Wade into the All-Star game. Do you think players should, do you think they should be mad that they kind of got snubbed, but, Dwayne Wade and Dirk, who kind of don't really play that much, got into the All-Star game?
If there's a thing to be mad about here, it's definitely not the All-Star game. Because for the express reason that Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade were both given special legacy spots. They don't take anybody else's spot on the roster, and they'll be chosen at the very end. It's not like Dirk's getting chosen first by Giannis. However, Dirk did get an invitation to the three-point contest.
Which he is participating in.
Which he is participating in.
Yeah.
And that is a situation where you have people who are shooting obviously considerably better than Dirk is this year, who maybe will not get a spot, and Dirk is in that one and in the All-Star game. So I think that it's a little silly for players to get upset that those two are taking their role in the All-Star game. I understand Rudy Gobert getting angry that people like Klay Thompson is maybe taking a spot. But Dirk and Dwayne Wade, they're in a different legacy roster spot, which is a nice nod from Kamish, so I think there's better things to be annoyed about here.
Yeah, they don't take a spot or anything like that, so that's nice, but putting myself in the shoes of a player, I can see how it would be frustrating, because there are lots of players who are beloved by the fans and didn't get into the All-Star game, because that really is a big honor, and a lot of players do look forward to that, because it's their weekend, or their week, really. So yeah, I can see how it would be frustrating, but yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I am excited to see where they get picked, though.
I think they're picked at the very end. I think that's.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I think it works.
I can't remember if that was one of the
I think it goes
stipulations.
starters, reserves, and then legacy.
Yeah.
So it's basically going to be, I believe LeBron has first pick. So
Yeah.
LeBron's going to get to choose between Dwayne Wade and Dirk.
Actually,
I wonder who he's going to go with.
Well, he has always said that one of his favorite players is Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah.
And that was after he made fun of him for being sick in the finals.
Field. What do you think, Tyler? What do you think about the All-Star game?
I really think the only scenario in which the players should be upset that they didn't make it to the All-Stars is if it cost them their final chance or something like that. Like maybe this was the only time they did it, but then they lost it. I can see how they'd be upset. But in every other case, it's like you'll have your chance later on. You know, like I'm not mad Luka Doncic didn't get in there because he'll have his chance. He's young and he has his chance later on. Yeah. So that's why I don't really think anyone should be upset at this unless they were like locked out of it permanently.
Yeah,
or something.
And the two players who are being put in for the legacy game, it's not like they're undeserving. You know, they might be undeserving, particularly Dirk, this year for the numbers, but they've had something that's more impressive than a single year with an all-star career. They've had entire seasons, championships where they do all-star quality play, and it's something for the fans to see before they go out. They're being celebrated this way. I think it's a nice nod.
The only thing is, to your point, Tyler, kind of rebuttal to your point, is saying that younger players have another chance. They might not. I mean, you know, I knock on wood, but, you know, they could have a career-ending injury. This could be their last season. You never know what could happen in this league. So just because Dirk and Dwayne Wade have had long careers, and they obviously weren't picked ahead of people. They were add-ins at the end. It's a legacy thing. But, you know, to say that, oh, he's got more seasons ahead of him. You don't know. Like, you know, the thing with Tracy McGrady, I mean, he was a superstar for the longest time, and then his back, and Larry Bird, both of their backs just gave out. And then, you know, they just couldn't play anymore. So that's just one thing to kind of rebuttal that. But yeah, so moving on.
That's Paul smashing the MF like button.
Me smashing the MF like button and
One
moving
of
on.
500, right?
One of 500. Calling in all GMs around the NBA. Paul Stops trade alert. Yes, there was a trade, and it hit close to home, and I'm so excited about it. But I'm going to try and be objective here. Got to put on those objective goggles. That's
the noise the goggles.
I don't know what noise that was, but it was the goggles, believe it or not, because I was putting them on. So, Kristaps Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, and Trey Burke are sent to our Dallas Mavericks for Dennis Smith Jr., Wesley Matthews, the expiring contract of Wesley Matthews, and the expiring contract of DeAndre Jordan for 2 future first-round picks. So I'm going to ask you first, Cameron, because you followed the team. You're a Dallas Mavericks fan. What were your initial thoughts on the trade?
So at the very, very outset, my first thoughts on the trade, which I think were shared almost unanimously other than the Knicks staff, was fleece. But as more stuff came out about it, you know, I thought about it a little more. I think it's a trade that really could end up working for both teams. It was obvious from everything we've heard now that Kristaps was not going to be happy with the Knicks for much longer. He definitely did not look like he was going to be signing long-term there. He looked like he wanted out. And Dallas took on some pretty rough contracts that the Knicks had. It really makes the Knicks poised to do a complete rebuild. Now, talking about who will win the trade, there's a whole lot of questions about that. The Knicks' moves here really, really look like they're leaving it open for KD and Kyrie. Honestly, both of them to go there. The trade is only one if they get 2 big superstars to go there, because that's how much cap they slashed with this one. They sent over players who were not going to have a spot on the team anymore, and they got Dallas's first-round picks. Now, that's also where this comes into play, is Kristaps looks great from his injury, and we start winning like crazy in the next 5 years. Those picks are going to be, you know, you're going to be crossing your fingers at best. They're not going to be rebuilding team stuff. They're just going to be backup picks in case, you know, we get unlucky. So I think it could be a balanced trade for both teams, but I'm delighted we got Kristaps Porzingis, and I'm delighted we found a team who was desperate to blow it all up so that we could take their best player.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. My initial thoughts were I was super excited about this trade. So we acquired a budding star in Kristaps Porzingis, who's coming off an ACL injury, which, again, as I stated in the last episode, I don't think it's that big of a deal now when athletes tear an Achilles rupture an Achilles or tear an ACL, because of the medicine and the training and the recovery process. I mean, it's sped up so much and it's so much more efficient now. So I think, even though that he's 7'3", I still think this has been his only major injury in his career, so I think it's not as big of a deal as a lot of other people are making it out to be. So that, I'm really excited for that. And they were looking to move from Dennis Smith Jr. anyways. I just don't think he fits with Luka, unfortunately, because I really like Dennis Smith Jr. But it just, it just didn't work out. You gotta ride with the better player. I think a lot of people haven't been talking about it, but like Tim Hardaway Jr., he's not on a terrible contract. It's much better than Wesley Matthews' contract was. Wesley Matthews was making $18 million, and he's not even close to the type of scorer that Tim Hardaway Jr. is. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is much younger.
He's a bit of a chucker this season.
Yeah.
He's not been good as a first scoring option, but he could fit well as a second or third option.
The team this year, he will be the third option. Next year, he will be the fourth option. Because I still don't think that they're going to move away from Harrison Barnes, because Harrison Barnes has become a much better defender this year. And then getting bench pieces like Courtney Lee, who's probably our best perimeter defender now, and then Trey Burke. I don't follow the Knicks too much, but apparently he's been having a pretty good year. So that's nice. And then, the Dallas Mavericks are getting assets that are known, right? They know what they have. The Knicks, the only asset they know about is Dennis Smith Jr., the 2 first-round picks, and then the opportunity to get 2 max players in the future. So they're setting them else. They're unknown, and that's why I think the Mavericks won the trade, is because they're getting known assets as opposed to the Knicks, who are kind of unknown. Looking from the outside, Tyler, what do you think about this kind of big deal, big trade?
Okay, so as usual, I did my research on this beforehand, and so it was a lot to soak in for me. So the way I kind of went about it, I said, all right, let's look up each of these individual players. We'll kind of skim their Wikipedia page, get a sense of, are they good? Are they meh? Are they, awesome or what?
Yeah.
And so I'll kind of go through them one by one. So Kristaps Porzingis, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Porzingis. There you go.
Okay. Well, we can.
So the gist I got is that his career started out rough, but he recently became really good at it. But then he tore his ACL, so picking him up is a little risky because it's a little hard to know, is he going to pick back up or what? Tim Hardaway Jr., similar, minus the injury. He, started off a little bit rough, but then recently became really good, and so I thought he was a good pick.
Okay.
Courtney Lee, when I did the research, I wasn't really impressed. All the stats I saw were in single digits, but then I just heard you call him the best perimeter defense or whatever.
Well, don't worry about what he says.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to
that's why it's valuable to you. Yeah.
So I'm going to continue to say that he's mediocre.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Then Trey Burke, he seemed consistently good, but not above and beyond good, kind of a good, not great.
Okay.
But overall, he seemed like a good pick. Then on the other side, Dennis Smith Jr., he's a rookie. He's had a solid start, 2 triple-doubles, the 5th youngest player to achieve it. I thought he was a really solid pick.
Okay.
Wesley Matthews, excellent at three-point shots, I gathered. He scored 1,500 three-pointers in his career, the first undrafted player to ever do that. Mm-hmm. I thought he was a solid pick. DeAndre Jordan, there was a lot of pretty good stats in there, but not a lot of really great stats in there. So I thought he was kind of a good, not great pick.
Can I ask you something when you're going through these players?
Yeah.
Which stats are you looking at that really stand out to you as important?
I'm not really looking at stats per se. I'm just kind of getting a gist of so if I see them break records, then I call them great.
Records are a big deal.
Yeah, but if the numbers look high, and by numbers I mean just literally just numbers, I'm not looking at specific things.
Okay.
So mostly points per game, rebounds, assists kind of thing.
You're looking for high numbers and everything except for numbers.
And the other correlation I notice is the longer their Wikipedia page is, the better they probably are.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. A good point.
Yeah. So tallying it up, it's 3 good picks, and then 1 mediocre pick to Dallas, 2 great picks, 1 good pick, 2 future draft picks, which I assume are 2 guaranteed good picks.
Well, not necessarily. The draft is kind of a crapshoot.
So 2
it's
probable.
It's a crapshoot.
Okay.
Yeah. So
2 ifs.
Okay. But yeah, overall, I thought Knicks seems to be getting the better end of the deal on this.
Okay.
Just based on that brief analysis.
That's interesting from an outsider's perspective.
Now, as Paul did say earlier, the quality of the players, I think, when you're looking at that research, may be completely spot on. but the differences between them is going to be the contracts and the money.
Okay.
So DeAndre Jordan and Wesley Matthews, it's unlikely they're going to stay with the team into next season at all. Dennis Smith probably will.
Yeah, Dennis Smith is probably the only one who stay, and I mean they're already looking to trade
Wesley Matthews will probably be gone by the next podcast we record.
Right.
But you're correct that he's a player that will most likely get picked up by a team looking to contend. Mm-hmm. But the Knicks are not necessarily looking in this trade to get players to immediately go to the playoffs. They're looking to get a situation that would make players want to come to them to contend in the next 5 years.
Okay, I see.
So I think all the things you're saying is valuable. I was just suggesting, there is more to the players than just their stats. Their contracts are sort of important when you consider these trades as well.
Yeah, so if you have a player on a contract and this is his last season, and you're not in contention to make the playoffs or win a title, the idea is that you will want to get assets back for that player, because if they're not going to help you achieve anything this season, what's the point in keeping them around? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was the case with Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan. They're both on expiring contracts. Their contracts were up at the end of the year. And opposed to just letting them leave for nothing, the Mavericks decided to trade them for future assets and things like that. So that's kind of a background into how basketball trades work. So I want kind of a grade, so A through F or whatever.
Before we do this, can I ask Tyler a question really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Out of all the players you read in there,
mm-hmm.
right, which player would you say is the one everyone's talking about as this trade's going through? Just from the outsider's perspective, who's the bombshell in this trade?
Oh, I have no clue. I didn't really look at articles of the trade specifically.
But I just mean with the players you looked at, you called them a couple great players.
Who's the best player?
Which player in here is the one that is standing out the most? Because I will tell you from the perspective of people who are in the game, this trade is about one player.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see if you could pick up on that just from the research you did.
I think it's got to be either Dennis Smith Jr. or Wesley Matthews.
That's interesting.
I'm going to lean towards Dennis Smith.
Okay.
And this is why I'm so fascinated by this, because one of the big question marks is what will the health of Kristaps Porzingis be?
Yes.
Because the player that everyone is talking about is Kristaps.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because people think he has... No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying he has the potential, and that people think, to be a potential superstar as he goes along. The two superstars are Luka and Kristaps, and that's one of the big stories of this. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting as someone who doesn't have any hype behind him, does not consider him a superstar just from watching him, that just by looking at it, you would consider other people the bigger players in the story. That's what I was asking about.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're not completely wrong. Like, Dennis Smith Jr. definitely sold the deal for the Knicks. They wouldn't have done this deal if they didn't get Dennis Smith Jr.
They passed on him last year.
Yeah, they passed on him in the draft last year. They regretted it, and they've wanted him now for a long time. So when the opportunity came up, they couldn't pass on him. So you're pretty much right. And you are right about Wesley Matthews is kind of known as a three-point shooter. He's declined.
He's a little older.
He's a little older. He's 32. So you also have to take that into perspective about trades. His age is a big thing. Potential. Obviously, an older player has less potential than a younger player, that sort of thing. So, going back to it, A through F grade. Tyler, what do you give the Mavericks for this trade, and what do you give the New York Knicks?
When preparing this, I gave the Knicks a B+, and the Mavericks a D. Keep in mind, this is before the feedback I just received. So.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. That's actually a lot of people, a lot of NBA experts agree with you more than they agree the other way, but for different reasons.
All right.
And I'll go into that in a second. Cameron, what grade would you give them?
So it's really, really difficult to evaluate this completely because, like you had talked about, there's a lot of, the Knicks went for things that weren't totally sure, but so did the Mavericks on the biggest piece of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
So just for what they're planning for the future, I would probably give both the teams Bs on this one. Bs. And they could change to As to completely Fs. If the Knicks pick up no one next season, they pick up neither Kyrie or KD or even a smaller player that's out there, I'd say they completely failed the trade. they sold away what was basically the face of the franchise for the last couple of years. And if their face of the franchise, Kristaps, comes to Dallas and he's a shell of his former self, and his brother, who's also his agent, tries to strong-arm Dallas, which you've already kind of seen in in Rick Carlisle's press conference, then it could easily fall to an F for Dallas. But if both teams go exactly as they're planning and they both become contenders in the next 5 years, then it's a great trade for both teams. So we'll just have to see. But that's my take right now, is that both, I would say, are B. I think it was a well-matched trade for both sides.
Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of a different take than either of you. I'm going to give the Mavericks a B+, and I'm going to give the Knicks a C-.
Okay.
So the Knicks, first off, if I'm a player, I have no incentive to go to New York. Personally, I think they're a terribly run franchise. James Dolan is not a good owner. They didn't even need to be in this position in the first place. They were in cap trouble by their own doing. They didn't need to throw in Porzingis. A well-run franchise has no cap trouble and has Kristaps Porzingis. So the only reason they're in this position, the only reason they have to trade Porzingis, is because they put themselves in this position. Also, it was reported that Kristaps went into the meeting and the Knicks were kind of like, so you want to be traded, right? And he was just like, well, I'm not sure exactly what the direction of the team is. So he kind of actually inferenced that he wanted to be traded. And the Knicks were like, okay, we've already got a deal, so they sent him away in an hour.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'd been looking to trade him even before he wanted to be traded. If I'm Kyrie and Kevin Durant, I don't want to go to New York, unless the other one is going. And KD has noted before that he doesn't want to go to a place where he is not comfortable or a place where he's not in a good situation. He wants to be in a place where he's in a good situation and obviously have a max contract. And I just don't think New York is that place. Kyrie, there was another report that I saw today where he said he was frustrated about the rumors that where AD and KD went were the driving force of where he would go in free agency, because it's just not true, he says. That's just a report. So, I personally think the Knicks are going to end up with 2 max slots, and all of those top-end free agents, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, are not going to go there. They'll probably end up with Kemba Walker and Jimmy Butler, which they're good players, but they'll get you knocked out of the second round in the playoffs. And you don't have Kristaps Porzingis now. They could have had those 2 max slots and Kristaps Porzingis, and then you've got a 3-headed monster. Yeah. But because they're the Knicks and they screwed it up so much, they're doing a rebuild inside of a rebuild. And there's only an 85% chance that they don't get the first overall pick. So they could not end up with Zion Williamson. They could not end up with those big name free agents and not have Kristaps Porzingis. And all they have is draft assets, which if it pans out for Dallas, those are going to be low lottery picks to high, obviously not lottery picks. So I do not think that I think this was a panic button move for the Knicks. For the Mavericks, if Kristaps is healthy, which he looks like he is, I think that the Mavericks just kind of want to not do well for the rest of the season so they can get that pick back that's top 5 protected, get a top 5 pick and have a high draft pick. Otherwise, I think Kristaps could probably play. But again, that doesn't mean that he's his former self. I think the underrated part for the Mavericks is that they got Tim Hardaway Jr. in this. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good third option for a team, like a really good third option. And, I think the Mavericks are really set up for the future now. They want to contend now, which I'd rather take that approach than take the Knicks hoping approach. I feel so bad for Knicks fans because they have to base this season on just hoping that these things happen, when in reality I don't think they will. I think a lot of media personalities want it to happen because a lot of them are Knicks fans, or a lot of them are fans of big markets. So they want these things to happen, which I just don't think players think that way. Also, the Mavericks, after this trade, they're going to have roughly $30 million in cap space, which is almost a max deal. So on top of getting Kristaps, on top of getting Tim Hardaway Jr., on top of getting bench pieces that are locked down for a while, they also get a max slot. An almost max slot, roughly $30 million. So I just think that they've done this the right way as opposed to the Knicks way. And that's why I give the Mavericks a much higher grade.
Before we go to the next section, Tyler, do you know, or I don't even know if Paul does, do you know what the New York Knicks name is short for?
No, what is it?
It is the New York Knickerbockers.
Ah.
Pretty sweet, right?
Pretty epic, right?
Actually, I think the best way to do this for Giannis to trade everybody on his bench for Anthony Davis. I think that'll be
We good over
trade
here.
is approved. It's approved.
Since we've been talking about that trade, obviously the whole thing with Anthony Davis has been going down. And I want to play a little game with you guys.
Ooh, another game.
Yes, another game. Not for money, unfortunately.
Man, you have $2 right in front of you.
Well, you know what? It's not that type of game.
Oh,
man.
Tyler had he just opened his wallet for that.
I'm going to name this, as of today,
Go ahead.
the Paul Stops Deal or No Deal, but much worse.
Dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So, I'm going to present you guys with a couple of trade scenarios for not the Anthony Davis, just Anthony Davis.
Okay. You don't know him like that?
No, I don't know him like that. So I did these ahead of time, and I'm just going to get your guys' reaction to some of these deals. Tyler, it's going to be a little rough for you, but I want you to try and give an honest...
Wikipedia.
I just want to try and get an honest opinion looking at it. So the first trade, I call it Lakers Dump Youth. This is obviously the really popular one that's kind of going around. It's slightly different from what a lot of other people are doing, or what not other people, literally what the Lakers and Pelicans are doing.
Sure.
But it's close. So the New Orleans Pelicans will get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Zubac for Anthony Davis, Wesley Johnson, and Tim Frazier. So Cameron, what's your reaction to something like that? To a trade like that? If you're
got a question for you really quick.
If you're the Pelicans, do you hit the deal or do you hit the no deal?
Is Wesley Johnson and Tim Frazier, are they playable?
Not really, no.
Not really.
Not really.
Are they as bad as Solomon Hill?
There probably were.
But their contracts are obviously much
But their
better.
contracts are a little better.
So I'm going to say if I'm the Pelicans, I do not take this.
Okay.
I asked to attach Solomon Hill to this because Solomon Hill is a real bad contract.
Okay.
And they're looking to contend. These two contracts will be gone
Mm-hmm.
by the end of this season. And they'll be able to have more room for other people to come there or for them to trade for different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's enough picks. I think Magic is willing to give all these players away. And I do think these are the 5 best players that he can deal with. Maybe Rondo could replace KCP, but that would be really dangerous for the Lakers team.
Yeah,
Rondo, even though it's been discussed.
Yeah.
I think these players are right, but I don't know if the picks are right, and I don't know if the attached players for the Pelican side are right.
Okay, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, that all makes sense to me. Obviously, there's just so much I don't really know, but yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the Pelicans could use a bit of a refresh right now, and so.
Could I ask you a question, Tyler?
Uh-huh.
So the Lakers' strategy in this one is for the last 5 years, they've been a pretty terrible team. A perennial contender champion has been garbage, and they've been in the rebuilding stage. They've begun hoarding picks, and they've converted those picks into good players, average to good players. They've done well in some drafts and not so great in others. And the Pelicans have been basically a one-man show this season and the end of last season with Anthony Davis, who is, by all accounts, a top 10 player, and many would put him in the top 5. So do you agree with the general strategy to sell away your young, farm-raised kids for a possible champion in Anthony Davis?
I think only Kyle Kuzma really grew up on a farm. From Utah.
We don't know with Lonzo Ball, who's in this trade, by the way.
Yeah.
The fictional Lonzo Ball.
The fictional Lonzo Ball, actually a real player in this trade, believe it or not.
What do you think of that, Tyler?
I mean, I don't know. I almost think I'd rather have like one great player and 5 good players than one superstar player.
Okay.
So you'd rather have LeBron with some up-and-comers than LeBron, a person who's slightly less good than LeBron but still good.
Yeah.
And just carnage in the rest of the...
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Next trade. Alright, so this one I call it Malone Stockton.
Ooh.
Okay?
Both players are on the table here? They might be a little old. The mailman coming out.
Listen, he could dominate on the block still. Anyways,
right.
So the New Orleans Pelicans would get Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio, Jay Crowder, the Utah Jazz 2019 first-round pick unprotected, and the Utah Jazz 2021 first-round pick top 3 protected. The Jazz would then get Anthony Davis, Solomon Hill, Wesley Johnson, and Ian Clark.
Man, that would be a pretty devastating trade for the Utah Jazz in the short term. Rudy Gobert and Ricky Rubio, aside from being good players, are complete fan favorites at the moment. Although I think Ricky Rubio is likely gone, but Rudy Gobert, they love him. His defense is incredible. He should have been an all-star this year. I completely agree with that.
But he's not better than Anthony Davis.
He's not better than Anthony Davis. And if you've got a shot, I guess you got to...
contracts.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about at all in this one that's worth noting for you and for Tyler is Anthony Davis. I think he's lying. He said there's 4 teams that he'd sign with next year. I think there's 1 team that he'd sign with
I
next
agree.
Year. So if he goes to a team like the Utah Jazz, I'm assuming in all of these that he signs a contract to stay with them. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm the Utah Jazz and he says, I actually want to go to the beaches of LA, I am not giving up 3 good players to see him leave the mountain country to go hang out with Bron in 2020. I'm not doing that.
All right.
But assuming that it is, it gets more complicated. I would lean... This is the one the Pelicans say yes to, if this is on the table. This one, This is insane for them. For the picks they'd get, the fact that Solomon Hill, as we've said before, cap carnage, is gone. This is all in. This is an amazing trade for them. I don't know if the Utah Jazz would go for it, but if I'm the Pelicans, I say yes.
Okay.
Let me see here real quick. Yeah, I think I agree with Cameron on this one. I think the Pelicans will gain quite a bit out of this one. It does say -7 wins, but I don't know. Maybe that's just short term. In the long term, I think this could help them out a lot.
All of this is gonna rate the losses pretty high because getting rid of a superstar is always dangerous. And in this situation, the superstar wants out. They're not. If none of these trades would be good trades for the Pelicans if Anthony Davis said that he wanted to stay for the rest of his career.
I guess that's kind of a point I was hoping to make too. I was like, I don't think Anthony Davis. If he gets off the Pelicans, I think he's going to play better in whatever team he's on now.
His morale is going to be higher. That's right,
yeah. So the next one is my favorite because it's the one that's definitely the least likely to happen, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It's called Jordan Pulls Off the Heist.
Okay.
Ooh. Yes, Michael Jordan, he's going to do it. He is going to be the one to pull off the big trade.
So I'm not sure if Tyler's aware of this. Michael Jordan, known as by many as the greatest player of all time, has in the past decade been one of
the worst owners of all time.
He went back and bought his hometown Charlotte Hornets. He's from North Carolina, and they've had pretty much a entire decade of overpaying for big white dudes.
Yeah.
So this would be an amazing thing to see. So lay it on us. What's the trade?
So the Charlotte Hornets get only Anthony Davis.
Okay.
That is it. The New Orleans Pelicans get Marvin Williams, Jeremy Lamb, Malik Monk. I think that's Mikal Bridges. I think Miles Bridges is the other one.
Yeah.
And then the Hornets 2019 first round pick unprotected. Do you do this trade if you're the Charlotte Hornets? And do you do this trade if you're the Pelicans?
Oh my God, I just got a notification on my phone.
Whoa.
It just happened.
This trade
just went through.
Jordan did it.
So the only way this trade goes through is if the Charlotte Hornets attach Michael Jordan's clone, Michael Jordan. This is not going through.
Dang. I really thought this one might get it. All right, I've got another one. It's also probably unlikely because the Wizards are the Wizards, but I like it. So the Washington Wizards would get Anthony Davis, Wesley Johnson, Elfrid Payton, Ian Clark, and the Pelicans would get Otto Porter, John Wall, and the Wizards' 2019 first-round pick unprotected.
So this trade's getting cut from this podcast. I don't know if you saw the news today. John Wall's Achilles exploded bending over at home. So this trade's not going through.
Oh. Well...
What for the sake of the conversation, we just pretend he wasn't injured?
He was not injured. We pretend that he has an invincible Achilles.
Okay, yes.
Would you do that deal?
Would I do that deal?
He bent over and ruptured his Achilles?
He wasn't going to play for the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, because he destroyed his knee or something.
He was worried about his Achilles. He went home, he slipped, bent over and slipped, and his Achilles exploded.
That sounds like a hen dream to me. A henny dream.
No, this is all real. Yeah, I don't know if he was walking around totally normal and slipped over.
Yeah, that's what I meant by henny dream.
I mean, the Washington Wizards would love to have a player like Ian Clark right now.
All right, Tyler, what do you think about this?
I have no idea. So, kind of going into this, the way I thought I'd prepare for this was I'd say, okay, let's just look up, let's see what are the general problem areas that the Pelicans are having right now. What do they use? What could they afford to give up? What can they not afford to give up? Mm-hmm. But as I did my research, I couldn't really find those answers because it seemed to me like less like their problem wasn't they don't have the players they need. It seems like in terms of raw skill, they have the potential to be competitive. It's just that they're not on the court, they're not working well together, and they're making poor decisions. So, like you said, the past couple of seasons, they've been like a one-man show. I don't really think that works that well. You only have one good guy and everyone else kind of sucks. So I'm not really sure a single trade is going to solve all of their issues. And so I went from I don't know what I do to I definitely don't know what I do.
Okay. Just to kind of close everything out, I do want to give a shout out to those stats people out there because I saw a beautiful stat today that I didn't think existed.
Okay.
And I saw it on the jump, and they pulled up with a stats list for James Harden, and they had his number of dribbles. His actual number of dribbles this season. 27,000.
Oh my God.
Over 27,000 dribbles. I just want to give a shout out to those stats people. You're doing God's work. 27,000 dribbles that you have counted of James Harden.
So many hours you have to dump in counting dribbles.
I know, 27,000 dribbles.
Well, I was going to say, of course they count the dribbles because I'm thinking of Klay Thompson. But the number of dribbles he takes in his historical games are...
I think it's maybe 100 this season, something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, in his game where he broke the number of threes, it was 12. So, two different players. I can't imagine counting for James Harden.
You just see the people, at ESPN, they're assigning, who gets to watch the tape, and they're like, oh, I got James Harden this week. I'm going to...
He dribbled
He dribbles so much. And then some other guy's like, yes... Klay Thompson, yes, I'm going to be done with it.
I get to see my kids.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for everyone who tuned in this week for the second episode of the Slam I Am podcast. I've decided that this will be a weekly podcast from now on. But again, please stay tuned if you like it. Just share with your friends. Again, smash that MF like button. Subscribe.
Tyler, tell them how many likes for Paul to cross
500 likes for me to cross you up and dunk on you. Parentheses, 7-foot hoop. We're not doing that 9-foot hoop. We cannot do a 9-foot hoop. Also, if you like content like this, please go check out our website. We've got a bunch of great articles up there right now. Cameron has some fantastic animations on there. All that content is going to be like this. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in again this week for the Slam I Am podcast episode 2.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, Alex. This is for your own good. Stop it, please, I beg you!